who else was there? We had Prince Louis, of course. How can we forget Prince Louis? If anyone almost stole the show from the King's birthday and the Princess of Wales's reappearance in the spotlight, it was Prince Louis. We're becoming accustomed to this now, aren't we?
We are, and we almost expect it from him now. So we certainly were watching with bated breath to see what he'd do next. What I loved about this year was the interaction between him and Charlotte. And I got the sense that certainly on the palace balcony, maybe they'd had a word with Louis and talked about trying to rein it in somewhat, because he did look like he was concentrating quite hard. But at the Major General's office, he pulled out dance moves to Highland Laddie. There was a bit of shimmying going on, but just like any other 6-year-old. It's great to see that, and I think it's so relatable for parents up and down the country, that he's just like any other kid his age.
Well, that's the beauty of it in many ways. I do wonder when these young princes and princesses suddenly get told who they are, in this kind of hierarchical system that we have. At the moment, he's just being a normal boy. He's not there for our entertainment.
No.
He's just being allowed to be a child, and then one day become a prince. It's really nice to watch. So.
Well, and it really sort of speaks to the way William and Kate are approaching the upbringing of the children, doesn't it? They want it to be as normal as possible. Yes, they have incredible privileges, but they're, Kate in particular comes from a relatively normal background, and I think that she's able to share that perspective with the children in a way that perhaps royals from previous generations didn't have access to. Fair
enough. Just quick diversion onto other royals, Duke and Duchess of Sussex, or the Duchess of Sussex in particular. There was a bit of a furore on Saturday morning because she had announced, or a friend had revealed that she had made some more jam and some dog biscuits, and it was released on the day that the Princess of Wales was coming back into the spotlight. Do we care that she's done this? Is it people seem to get upset about it?
Look, I think the problem is that anything they do is either going to be praised or criticised to an extreme, because unfortunately that seems to be the way that people approach stories about them. The jam business is not new. Eyebrows are raised about the timing of that. And it was actually done through their very close friend, Nacho Figueras, who posted it on Instagram. The dog biscuits was new. That was a new line. Yeah. Waiting to hear more about that in the future, and whether that's going to come out of her new business venture. But it's interesting the way it's sort of being kind of drip-fed out. Is that going to mean that all eyes are on it when it officially launches? Or is it just going to be a slow burner?
Well, I don't think releasing dog biscuits on the day of the Princess of Wales's, appearing at Drooping the Colour is going to steal any front.
I don't think it ruffled any feathers.
It certainly didn't. Talking of feathers, plumes. Plumes in hats this week.
I know.
We were both at Garter Day.
It was windy.
Yeah, it was windy. Now, to the untrained eye, Garter Day looks a little bit medieval. So even to the trained eye, two people who sat there and watched it all happen in Foldis, it also looked a little bit medieval.
Because it is, Matt.
It is.
Yeah.
But looking into it, it's the highest order of chivalry. And so the King and the Queen and Prince William and the Duke of Edinburgh and Princess Anne were the main royals that were leading down. But did you enjoy the day there? Did you get the sense of why people were there? Because there was a lot of people. They queued for hours to see it.
It's a real spectacle, and it is quirky, and it is might appear a bit eccentric from the outside, but I think it's kind of what the monarchy does best in this country. It brings that sort of pomp and pageantry. And it is unique. There can't be any other... Well, there are a few other countries where you'd be continuing a tradition like that that's 700 years old, honouring people. And I think it's interesting as well that they are appointing people who aren't necessarily, hereditary peers or aristocrats now. We've got a few former prime ministers. You had Lord Lloyd Webber yesterday being honoured as a Knight of the Garter or a Companion of the Order. And... it's an unusual one, for sure, but you can see why. If you're coming to the UK and if you want to go to Windsor and see something quintessentially British and quintessentially royal, then you can't really do much better.
No, I completely agree. And it's always sunny on Garter Day. Yes. And you can get in. As I say, there was huge queues. And across the lawns, we saw there's so many people camped up with camping chairs just to watch.
Picnics. And
you don't see much.
No, you don't. It's the carriage ride past on the way back, which is really lovely. But actually, it's also... the band music, the guardsmen. We saw one poor guy as well who succumbed to the heat yesterday because it's a bit of a sun trap there.
And they're there for a long time as well.
And I'm always a little bit worried about the knights and ladies who tend to be of advancing years, wearing a lot of velvet and a lot of feathers.
A lot of plumes and feathers.
A lot of plumes for June.
One royal who didn't wear his velvet robes, his mantle, or his plumed hat was
at least not in public.
At least not in public. Yes, this is Prince Andrew we're talking about. I mean, this is the highest chivalric order. Prince Andrew has not appeared in public. He doesn't take part in this public walk down to the chapel. He doesn't take part in the ceremony, but he takes part in the lunch and the investitures before. Should there be a stage where it's a high chivalric order that maybe the king should look at Prince Andrew's membership?
That's a good question. I don't know what, if any, system there would be to remove him from it. But look, I think what we've seen from the king, particularly at Christmas and a couple of other events in recent years, is that he has kept the Duke of York as very much as part of the family. He's there for the family events, and I think if he's taking part in things behind closed doors, it doesn't particularly bother me. I don't know how other people feel about it, but
sometimes we have to remember this is a family.
This is a
and
family.
His brothers
this
and
is his
cousin,
brother, and
he's punished him.
Yes,
in quite in so many ways, stripped him, taken away all his his roles and his patronages, and he can never be a working royal. Probably end up getting kicked out of Royal Lodge. So
exactly. So at what point do you say that's enough?
Yeah.
I think maybe here.
But I'm glad that he's not there because I think that would be.
I don't think it would be a good look. No. Absolutely not.
No. What else? This week we have even more pomp and ceremony. We've got Royal Ascot.
Yes. Have you got your feathered hat out?
I've got my top hat and tails. Yep. One of the key things about it is that the king's going to be there almost every day. We were worried that when the late Queen passed, because she used to go quite regularly, that it might become less of a Royal Ascot. But why do you think the King, the Queen, Prince William, all these rules, why are they maintaining the royal links to horse racing, and what are you looking forward to at Ascot?
Well, I think that while we were told all along the King wasn't that interested, perhaps he is a lot more fond of the horses than we'd been led to believe. Don't forget, he played polo for many years. He was involved in various hunts. He's always been a horseman, so there is that natural affinity. But he's also inherited some incredible studs and...
He might win some money.
And horses, I mean, you only had to look at that win they had at Ascot last year, I think it was at Desert Hero, to see how emotional that was for him. And it wasn't just because they'd won. They'd won with one of the late Queen's horses, and this was really about him taking the mantle on and continuing her legacy. So it's great. It means so much for the industry, because really without royal patronages and without royal attendance, it wouldn't have quite the cachet that it does. So I'm looking forward to seeing them arriving. It's always fun to see the carriage procession, them going around the parade ring, and then the photographs of them in the royal box. If they do get a winner, are always good fun, good value.